Welcome to the skating session. My name is Tony Wheeler,
And I'm Thomas Vu.
and we are here to discuss day one of the World Team Trophy in Japan. This is an event that takes place on odd years. It's taken place since 2009, and Russia, the United States, and Japan have been winners in the past. Actually, in the last event in 2023, South Korea was in second place, and they did not even qualify this time. Instead, we see Team Georgia here for the first time. And interestingly, the way they built their team was very unusual, which we'll get around to in a little bit. Uh, the energy of this event, I think, is always really good. If you're not named Scott Moyer, I think pretty much all the skaters have spoken that they really enjoy it. It's kind of interesting though, because you have the end of the skating season traditionally, which is Worlds, and people try to peak for that event. Following Worlds, skaters either go on tour really quick. I know some of the French skaters were already on tour. Other skaters, they may take a vacation, they might have a lot of free time. So you might wonder what is the level going to be for this event, but historically it's actually been quite high, and we've seen some really standout skates.
Yeah, and I really love this event, just the fact that it's just so not stressful, because Worlds can feel like a lot of that like culmination, and you want all these things. To where here, I'm not worried about any placements. I can just enjoy it. I imagine it's like that for a lot of the skaters too, and you can see which ones are just really enjoying that kind of lighter team atmosphere. And it's also really clear, that some of them had a vacation after Worlds, which I would totally take too, because after a long season, World Team Trophy coming up, I'm focused on having fun, not my best skate. Yeah.
Of course, and you can see the skaters really get into it. You see how the kiss and cries are decorated. You see the outfits that they put on. They really get into it, and I think that it takes it's another level of pressure, but at the same time, the scores kind of go out the window. And also, I mean, let's be real, they do.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of level threes instead of level two. We're seeing a lot of level four, um, a lot of really high GOEs. So it's really kind of a cheese fest, if you will. If you were a fan in the 90s, it's back to that kind of event. Uh, but it's fun for the skaters, and I think it's a good way for them to end the season on a really high note, because typically we do see some really strong skates.
We really did. And, like about the scores too, I was looking out for that because we're used to seeing, especially in like an ice dance, here's just a bunch of tens for no reason and no
Mhm, mhm.
tens in the rhythm dance, which I was really surprised to see. I haven't looked at really the other disciplines, but I assume again, no tens. And I know it usually is a really inflated event. It wasn't that bad or that high compared to what it's been like in previous years. So I wonder if there was purposely some restraint or something.
I think we saw it start to creep in a little bit, as especially the men's event started to go on, or as the men's event went on. I think there were some interesting calls. We'll get around to that, but
Oh,
yeah, it's not. It's we'll see by day three. We're only in day one, so we'll see by day three what ends up happening with the scores. Let's start with the dance competition.
yeah.
First thing that I noticed, I'm sure you did too. This is maybe it's a Japan only thing, but they actually announced all of the people that were judging and the technical panel, which the ISU, as far as I know, has not done that all season. I know at Worlds they didn't do it for sure, and I was at Skate America as well, and they didn't do it. Typically at the beginning of the broadcast on Peacock or wherever you're watching, they'll show that, and I think the ISU is just cutting some more time out however they can. So I don't think they're doing it anymore, but I think Japan has still maybe held that tradition.
Yeah. It's probably a lot easier to do when you have a field of six or 12 as opposed to
Mhm.
like, yeah, I can see that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I was surprised though. I was like, oh, they're doing this. I wonder why. I was so used to just not even expecting it. Yeah.
hmm it's good. I always read the sheet with the judges and the technical panel, so I know who's there. But sometimes it's nice to see, oh yeah, I remember this person, or here goes all these high scores, or here goes all these low scores, just based on who's on the panel. Let's talk about the rhythm dance. Yoshida and Morita opened the show for Japan. Realistically, they knew they were probably going to finish sixth place here. Um, Problems on the Twizzles, and then rotational lift, probably just too much energy, home energy, excitement, just a mess. Honestly, it was a pretty big fall. Uh, One thing I will say about them though, and I think we did say it at Worlds, is they probably have a decent chance of making it to the Olympics as one of those qualifying spots in Beijing. They have a really fresh, young energy that uh, I think is going to take them far, and I think they have a good coaching team behind them, obviously. So I think they could be in contention next year to get to the Olympics on their own. If not, of course, they're most likely going to get one of the wild card spots to
Yeah.
fill out the team event for Japan, anyways.
Yeah, I really like this team a lot. I wrote here that they just have so much potential. I wrote Riz on my notes, and like I'm 10 years younger, but they just have crazy amounts of charisma. Um, and you could see that just they have great skating skills too. They have great partnering. You could just see that they're always aiming to skate at a level higher than their normal. And that's what I could feel here. They're aiming to skate faster, deeper edges. And you could see that it fell apart a little bit at the end when he just slipped in the rotational lift. Obviously, you don't want a major disaster. They had another repeat, yeah. But I definitely think that they can qualify for the Olympics on their own. They go and they skate clean. The GOE and the quality of their elements really should put them ahead. They just have so much speed too out there, and it's really obvious that it comes across the screen really, really well. Yeah, I really hope that they stay together. I love to see them be Olympic contenders in like 8 years and like four continents contenders in four. Yeah, I'm really rooting for them already.
Next, we have Diana Davis and Gleb Smolkin from Georgia.
Yeah.
This program's all right. I don't think it's terrible. It's okay. Um,
My brain was like, it's their starter program. Like
yeah,
it's one they're
it
their
is.
first one with Montreal and
Yeah, and it's interesting because I feel like you see the teams that kind of really get these outside the box programs, or the programs that are quite creative, and then you see other teams that maybe are not as well established, or they
yeah.
don't have the natural ability to sell a program, and they get these kind of, that's all right. I wouldn't say there's anything remarkable.
Yeah, what I was thinking when I was watching them too, it made me think about how, even if I haven't always been a fan, I always felt like when they were with Igor, they had an identity. You could feel it. They were dynamic. They were young. They were going for more an in-your-face style, especially with their Moulin Rouge program. How they were just trying to open up with this great, stationary lift. I think it was to rotational lift, right? Too. It's a combination
Mhm.
lift, and just immediately, right? Bam, statement. And here, even if this is a higher paced and whatever program, it still feels like they're trying to stay in the background with it. They're just trying to be smooth, just
Mhm.
this generic Montreal style. And stylistically, I'm not as into it. I get really bored. But the skating's way better. It's
Mhm.
way better when they were with Igor and way better than when they were in the Wida camp. But yeah, yeah, I think there's a lot of the packaging, and usually we don't complain about the packaging coming out of Montreal, but they're not like the typical Montreal team. They got to. I almost want to
Not
see them have a
yet.
packaging like Lopareva and Brissot. You have to think outside the box. You have to do
Mhm.
something different than the pack. But yeah,
I mean, they got to the top 10 in the world with otherwise generic programs. I don't want to say generic because they definitely need to find, I think, an
right.
identity.
They do. Yeah, the
And
skating's a lot smoother. The elements a lot smoother. The steps are a lot better. I don't
yeah,
constantly have this in my brain that she's falling behind thought anymore. Yeah.
I think Ben Augusto, somebody said somewhere that they are better in person than they appear on TV, because I think a lot of people rip into them.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
And I don't think though that I mean, I think they're a good team. I think that they really do, like we talked about at Worlds. I think there's some teams that really just don't have the overall excitement to their skating, that they actually need a really driven character, or some kind of
Right, exactly.
theme going to their program. And I feel like that with them. We'll see. They were brand new with Ice Academy Montreal this year, so we'll see what they can do over the summer. It's an Olympic season, obviously, so I'm hoping that that camp especially really goes for these standout programs rather than just, oh, that's okay. Um, that's what I hope for.
Right.
And speaking of these standout programs, Lope River Brousseau, I think that they, out of everyone in that camp, probably have the most character-driven programs, and I think that they are able to sell pretty much anything that they're thrown. And I would think actually they're really involved in their selection of their programs.
Oh, I think so
So I
too.
think,
You just
yeah,
like you look at these programs, there's no way like Marie France is picking this music. That this
yeah,
doesn't seem
yeah,
like her vibe. She's not putting
yeah,
on Pandora or Spotify and listening to these songs.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Agreed.
but I love how atypical they are, and somehow I wrote here like somehow in a smaller field they stand out more, and I really appreciated that. And I'm just like give them all the performance execution. One thing I noticed though, I did look at their protocol after. It really does seem like they're at a maxed +3 now in all their elements. It's like the judges are hesitant to give them more than that. And for some of these, I would. Like I would have given that character a step higher GOE.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah,
I think it actually was my favorite of the day. I was
me
watching
too.
them and I always watch, the character step is not intricate for most skaters. It's really not. If I can go out there and do those steps almost immediately, then, it's nothing complex, but I think that the energy of it with the programs that they have, I think they probably on this day had the best one. And I do feel too seeing where their GOE is just based on what pops up on the screen and I can calculate, where they're
Yeah,
being slotted. I feel like they're definitely being held back, and I have to speculate that this is because France is bringing in another team that they want to promote as number one, and they made that very clear. They said that, this is their next big
right.
hope. So
And yeah,
I think it's
not
unfortunate.
speculation. Exactly. That's not
No, yeah,
speculation.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's really unfortunate because I do think that this team probably PCS wise and the skating skills, it's whatever. They're not weak, but the composition and the performance, I mean, especially the performance should be way up there.
Yeah.
And they're not only are they not really getting to that top level there, but like you said, the GOEs are conservative as in +3, but it's I think that the elements match the program. I think they're really well done as well. So it's like what else besides this other team coming back is the reason
Right.
for this?
And it'll be interesting next season to see in their early events and especially their first Grand Prix. Are they coming out and are they getting like 80 plus in this rhythm dance? Are they getting like 75 to 80? In the free dance, are they getting like 120 plus? Are they getting like 115 to 120? And so that's going to be
Mhm.
really important to
Mhm.
see because if it's the latter, it's a definite downward trajectory.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we saw going off topic for a minute, but we saw earlier this year domestically in France, we saw a team, their second team, kind of a battle starting there, where the first event, the team that ended up at Worlds was really dumped in the beginning of the season domestically. And I think that that was the direction France was maybe trying to go. And then all of a sudden, internationally, you have a completely different result where actually the fourth place team is now beating the third place team. And so that's throwing everything off. And then it's like they kind of backtracked and went back to their support for the second place team that was at Worlds. So we'll see. I don't doubt that there's some kind of politics taking place. I just think it's unfortunate that it's one of the most creative teams that is
I
now
know. It's really interesting
suffering.
too because you had that whole happening in the background, and then all of a sudden Cicerone announces he's coming back, with Fournier Baudry for France, and now I feel like that's all moot, that whole battle, and it's going to restart after the next Olympic
Yeah,
cycle. And yeah,
yeah, yeah. It's all going to reset because, most likely none of those teams that we just talked about are going to the
exactly. Yeah.
Olympics.
No, we know
So,
who's going for the most
yeah,
part.
yeah, yeah. So moving on, Gilles and Poirier. I said it at Worlds, and I'll say it again here. I think that it is my favorite rhythm dance out of the top teams. I think there were a lot of big misses this year, and I, I
I
I have
know.
to give them credit. Like
Uh,
I have to give them credit for um it's so cheesy. This program is cheesy to the extreme, the choreography, but it's so believable for the music. Other teams, they plaster on these smiles and it's like, what is the theme or what is going on? With them, I
Exactly.
love it.
It's genuine. It comes from like this genuine
Mhm.
place. They're having fun, and it's like it's who they've always been. And I just feel like now that they've matured, they've smoothed out their skating, their lines are a little better, and all that. Like you can just be there for the ride. I don't have to think of it critically. I wrote, I'm so thankful for them. And then I think, what did I write here? At the end during the rotational lift where she's changing, her hand positions and
Hmm.
everything. And one of them,
Hmm.
she's just like, she's
Yep.
to the
Yep.
water. And what did I wrote here? And I wrote, I used to hold my nose while underwater too, Piper. Like I'm just having fun with it.
Yeah.
And I could see myself in a more cynical mindset, maybe myself like 15 years ago, right? Being like, ugh, this program's so terrible. It's so cheesy. And now I'm like, this program's so cheesy. I love it because it's just joy. Yeah.
But I think it's because the rhythm dance is asking for them to almost be cheesy. I mean,
Yeah,
these
it really
themes
is.
are just so if you're going to be cheesy, then instead of just plastering on this smile, as the button used to say, that only it doesn't extend to the eyes, it's just kind of plastered on, which some teams do. Just go all out and enjoy it and have fun, and it looks like they really do. And even so, I think that the choreography of the program and the actual story of it is out of the top teams. Like I said, we had really big misses this year, I feel. And I think that they very clearly had the best rhythm dance out of all of them as a whole package.
Totally agree with you. Yeah, totally agree with you. I'm here for it.
Chalk and Bates. I don't hate the program. I really don't hate it. We Nicole Bobek skated to this same mix back in the 90s, and we saw Oksana Baiul and Victor Petrenko do an exhibition for many, many years to this Jive Bunny remix of songs. Uh, I don't know.
I
It's
just
cute, but I, I'm all okay. So the character step that they start with, which is a nice change because no one, I don't think anybody else, everyone else ends with it. They start with it. They
yeah, yeah.
do that's a nice little change. They do that little flip move at the end of the character step, which is really cool. They do a lot of stuff that's nice, but when we're going back, same story as I said at Worlds, you go to their Twizzles, uh, not great. They're just not great. Um,
Yeah, this is where that
and
inflation's happening here. It's even higher than it
yeah,
would have been at Worlds. These plus fours for those Twizzles, which weren't even
mhm,
done as well than at
mhm.
Worlds. Yeah.
And that like the pattern we talk about character step being first and that's great, but then the pattern step, I still feel like when you're watching her come, and I saw it twice actually. I don't know if it's just the way that they've choreographed the steps because everyone can add a little nuances or hand movements
Yeah.
or whatever, but it almost feels like she's getting stuck. Like there's a very sticky moment coming around both corners. It's
Hmm.
like I don't know if her positioning's not right. I don't know, but it's not even a part of the element that's being scored. But if you're looking at the overall GOE and this flow and this how well did it work, I don't like I at Worlds I thought it was a mistake, and now I'm thinking, oh, it's just the angle that they're going into. I don't know because I saw it twice in this one, and I don't care for it. I think that it's not nothing looks easy. I'll just put it that way. If it's these individual elements that we're looking at, the choreographic stuff, they're great. The lifts are great. But when we're looking at these individual elements, I feel like he's maybe slowing way down for her, and I feel like they're also not covering much ice. And for a world champion team to then be handed plus fours, it's like,
Yeah,
what's
I didn't
how?
agree with those GOEs for any of their steps or the Twizzles. And it's the same thing for the pattern step. I remember at Worlds it was really small, right? It
Hmm.
felt shallow. They
Hmm.
they weren't
Hmm.
hitting as deep of edges. And then even here, what I fixated on was the constant music edits during this part. They're
Hmm.
not changing how they're performing at all, how they're skating at
Hmm.
all. You really can't in the choreographic like rhythms. It's not a choreographic rhythm step, but like a pattern step that's based on a pattern like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But what was it, like six, seven music changes, and just none
I
of it
think they
really
have
made
8 now.
sense in the pattern step.
Oh, no, no, no. I don't know in
Just
the
in the
pattern
one
stuff
pattern
itself,
step,
but
they
yeah,
just kept
yeah, I don't know.
constantly changing music cuts,
Yeah.
just boom, 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 until it goes, Last Dance, and then
Hmm.
it just invites that comparison to Alyssa now. And so it was already to me ending on a down, right? When they should be ending on this
Uh-huh.
kind of like in your face vibes, like the choreo elements, because that's their strength. But now it ends on a down, and then I think to myself, oh, I'd rather go watch Alyssa.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I don't know
that's
if
not a
that's
great
yeah,
place
but
to
then
be. But I know it's
yeah,
a
but that
music that no one foresaw coming, becoming so
right, exactly.
such a
Exactly.
moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean this was the last time we're seeing this program and like I said, I like this team. I think yes, some of the elements are wildly overscored, but if anything, I really hope as we talked about with Ice Academy Montreal, I hope that this team goes back to this character-driven stuff next year. I hope it's not a
Too.
vague we're portraying the elements or we don't really have a theme, so we're going to suddenly change the theme completely because I just hope that they come out very strong with a storyline and
Right.
um,
And they're good.
because I
Yeah.
like them when they have
That's where
that.
I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
see them go too. And I really liked that stuff. And now to me, where they're just getting these vibes where I feel like this year the theme for both of their programs is America. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
do that well. Yeah, give me characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
She needs to be a snake.
Yeah. No, she needs to be the alien. She needs to they need to go all out and do something really, really avant-garde, I think, like 2022. Let's move to Guignon Fabry. My again, as a technician and a fundamentalist, I think that they are the strongest team. I think that this year, unfortunately, both programs just missed the mark majorly. Um, I think that there's comparatively, I still think that they're not getting the respect that they deserve as far as the choreography and the intricacy of it, and also the skating skills. But I do have to say, realistically, from watching what they put out there, the choreography and the music doesn't really lend itself to saying, "Wow, they're amazing skaters," like
Right.
has happened in the past. Personally, I think some of the stuff makes them look really sloppy. He's had issues with the Twizzles quite a few times this year, which is a new thing.
I wonder
I
if it's
don't
an
know.
injury. Yeah.
I don't know if it's an injury. I don't maybe it's just the pattern of the programs are just not I don't know that they feel their programs tremendously either. They have fun, but Barbara, if you're listening or if anybody in the team is listening, please give them something good next year. Like they really now that they're kind of they skated relatively well here and they got what, like 84 points. They need something next year that's above and beyond, or I fear like this is the team that might lose out to the French team. They've already lost out to the British team. So I don't care that the Olympics are at home. I think that they really need to come out with a Papadakis Cicerone kind of 2015 where the program is just so good that there's no, that they can't push them down. And I don't know that they have the identities to really do that. I'm hoping Barbara
I
works her
know.
magic, but
I've been thinking
um,
about that, like what would work for them, what would give them that type of moment, and trying to be different, esoteric, like they were going for this year, doesn't work for them. They always went better with more classically driven programs before, and maybe they need to go back to that. And if they were worried about being too boring, maybe they need to find a way to bring out more emotion, right? Like I I don't really know what it would take for them because, I wrote here that like I didn't get their GOEs on a lot of their elements. To me, the way they're performing some of these elements, especially like the step sequences, were better than
Mhm.
Giles and Poirier and Chalk and Bates. I would have given them plus fours. I would have given the latter plus twos and plus threes. And that's where their strengths should have been, and you didn't see that. They got lower GOEs. I my instinct was it should be first, right? And I know I'm valuing it based on kind of like an old school way of thinking about ice dance. And if I'm thinking about the new school way, I really wasn't as into like their other elements. The rhythm step, I wasn't as into it. It was really fun, but what I think it was just like there was a lot of like this arms going and like a lot of head work, and that's about
Mhm.
it. It's true of a lot of teams, but it wasn't something that was like my favorite.
Mhm.
But I still would have had them in first. Yeah, just by the virtue of their technical elements. And even if to me, he checked that third Twizzle level three, but it wasn't really noticeable. Still should have been higher GOE than the top two teams.
I don't have any arguments. I think that
Yeah.
their quality and their transitional difficulty into and out of so much of their stuff, it just doesn't really get rewarded in any sense. And you have other teams that are crawling into their elements really tentatively, and there's no preparation. It comes from a mile away. There's
Yeah.
nothing, and they always pack their programs, and I don't feel like that's rewarded really well. So, like I said, I think for them, it's they have to hit it out of the park really early next season, or I just feel like it's, I fear for what's going to happen. Even the Olympics being home for them, I fear that they need something big. They really
Say,
need something
if
big.
if Virtue and Wire can lose a Worlds in Canada, 100% Guinard and Fabry can lose out on an Olympic medal in Italy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I hope
I
not. I
see
hope
the
not
writings
because
on the
they are the
wall.
best.
Same. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
agree with you, but I can see that. I could see them being fifth or sixth.
Moving on to the men's short program. Interesting story actually to start the um competition. Maurici Kvitalashvili, who I think at his last Worlds, he was in the top five or six. He placed really well in 2022. Then he went on to do a lot of show skating. I know
Yeah.
he's show skating in Russia. Uh, I think he's touring in other places. Uh, I didn't really know what to expect with him because I haven't been watching what he's been doing in his show skating. He didn't look, I mean, I know his score was not even 60 points, and on paper it looks like that's pretty bad, but he didn't look all that bad. The quad had no hope from the start. I mean, that was probably
Yeah.
three and maybe a quarter rotations, and he was lost in the air. But not that bad. He had fun. He's actually an audience favorite in Japan. I remember he was always invited to all the galas in every competition in Japan for a long time.
Because he had fun
So
galas, right? Like even if his
yeah, like the
programs didn't
Aladdin
show a
and
lot,
yeah,
but his yeah,
yeah,
it's another
yeah,
example of a skater who has tons of personality, just doesn't put it in his
yeah.
competition skates.
Yeah. And one thing that's really interesting for me is now that Nika Gadza did finish in the top 10 at Worlds and they can send a second Georgian man to the Olympics.
Oh, I wonder if
I'm
he's gonna
wondering,
train.
I'm wondering if this event is going to get him to be like, I went to Beijing. The audience was non-existent because of COVID. It wasn't really an Olympic experience.
Right.
Why not at least go try to qualify this spot? Because I think they actually do have a junior skater that might be old enough next year. I'm not sure on that, but I don't doubt that with a few months of training in the summer, he can get his quad toe and his quad
Yeah.
salchow
Mauricio
back.
could
And then,
totally qualify. Yeah, 100%.
yeah,
Like, and he doesn't
yeah,
even need both quads back. He just needs to pick
yeah,
one of them and do it twice
yeah,
in the
yeah,
log.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, both of them kind of look the same anyways. He has a very unusual technique. So, um,
Fair.
but
Yes,
but
his
I'm very interested to see if this does, he's 30 years old. I don't know, but I just thinking about what his Olympics experience was the last time, and now he has this competition. Maybe he wants to stay in show skating, but that spot there is somebody that has the option to go try to qualify a second spot, and I'll be
he should
curious to see if he's there.
I part of me wants him to. Like, he's not my favorite skater, but even just what you're talking about, the ability to have that experience, everyone who just went in Beijing, they didn't get to have that true Olympic experience, that sense of community and the environment. And so everyone deserves that as an Olympian. I really hope that
Mhm.
he's able to do
Mhm.
it. I know it also means someone else misses out, but that's sport. But
They might not
yeah,
though. I don't know. I don't know if I think I saw that there's a Georgian man that might be age eligible, but otherwise there's no one else. So it's not that
right, why not?
he would be taking a
If he's
spot away.
interested.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So Alexa Rakic from Canada, I have to say this out of the kindness of my heart with the Canadian skaters. I feel like they're very loyal to their coaches, and this has been historically the same thing. And I feel like the same could be said of Roman, the same could be said of Madeline. They stay loyal. They don't make changes to their training environment. Wesley Chu, who's out with injury, it also applies to him. They stay in their camps, and I see Alexa's triple axel, and I am like, why does he not seek outside help to try to do something about it? Because he steps forward and then he kind of pauses and then he really twists. It's a big pre-rotation. They don't ever call it, but it's
Right.
weird. It's just weird. And the quad toe looked okay. It's a better
As
jump
it's
for
good
him.
as it's
It's
ever gonna be,
yeah, yeah,
is the way I thought about it. Yeah,
yeah,
it's.
yeah. But
I wrote very much a McLeod skater. Speaking of sting at your
yeah.
coaches, and having that loyalty. And, as a educator, the one thing I think about too is you're not always equipped to teach someone at every level. And even me, if I were to give advice to a student, it's like seek different perspectives because
Mhm,
that's the only way you're really going to grow. You could be with someone who is the most excellent, but they still only have the one point of view.
mhm.
And yeah, I agree with you, just in general. Yeah.
Historically, though, skaters have spoken about how good Joanna is and how much they respect and love her and all that. So
Right.
I don't think
And if the
well, and
results
you
not
think
all, yeah, if the results not the most important thing about sport for you, if it is about the process and the enjoyment, I don't see anything wrong with sticking with the coach that you like, the training environment you like, because sport is more than just results, right? Because not everyone's going to win medals, not everyone's going to get first place, and sometimes it really is just the process. Um, I tend to be very results driven as a person, but
yeah, me
I
too.
also know that that's not always the healthiest mindset to be
Hmm.
in, right?
Right.
Because
Right.
yeah,
The one thing I feel like Alexa's been around forever. I feel, he's 20 years old, but I feel like I've seen him for so long. And one of the most memorable things that I can recall from seeing him is he tends to have, it doesn't matter if the skate's really good or really bad. He gets off the ice and before he can even sit down, Joanne's asking him 1,000 questions. How do you feel? What do you think this, blah. And what tends to happen almost every time is she'll ask a question, and before he even has like a second to think, she's already answering it for him. I remember one time, I swear, the kiss and cry.
oh,
She was like, "What do you think happened on this jump?" And there was like a brief pause, and she's like, "I'm going to tell you what happened." It's like there's no time for him to ever express what is
that's
going on.
great.
So yeah,
That's amazing. I'm
yeah,
just like, tell me you have ADHD without telling me you have ADHD.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I mean, but speaking of Canadian skaters, it's the same as Roman. But you can tell that he just loves the process too and skating. I don't think he's always in it for the results. I don't get that sense because I watch his YouTube stuff. So,
Hmm.
but the comment I had here was just his components were far too low, even with
Yep,
the error on the combination. Like
yep.
it's far too low. I don't know where high sevens comes from. To me, he's easily eights, mid eights on like a
Me,
normal. If he has a great skate, give him high eights, give him those low nines. Yeah, he's definitely, yeah, just I wonder if it's just again reputation, consistency. He and the judges don't feel like comfortable doing that or that their colleagues will.
I don't understand a world in which he is getting the same kind of components that Daniel Grassel and Nika Gatze are getting. I don't, I really am
Right.
so confused. He has, we talk about Andrew Torgashev. I gushed about him at Worlds and his flow and his ease and his this power he gets from nothing. And Roman
Yeah.
is very much the same kind of skater. His jumps, when he gets them right, they float. That quad salto was beautiful. When he takes his time and he really takes the time to go into the jump and doesn't rush it, it's beautiful. He gets down into his knees. He uses every part of his body through the choreography to me, it's insane. It's
Yeah.
insane that he's in the high sevens. I think I love this program. It was skated pretty well. I always feel like if he gets through the quad and the triple axel, then the combination is going to have some kind of issue. It was not different here, but it's still it's mid eights, high
True.
eights, pushing nine. It really he's so good. He should not be. I would love to sit into a round table and have them explain what the process is of giving him those scores because it doesn't make any sense. But Worlds was really good for him, and I feel like getting through the two big elements here,
Right.
scoring really well.
And relative for him, this is really good, especially back to back to do well in the short program at Worlds, do well in the short program here. It really is kind of feels like an upward trajectory to where he's just not wasting these opportunities
Hmm.
because I hope that it gives him confidence. I really want to see him do well at the next Olympics.
Yeah.
Just so we can have that, and especially in like a new Olympic environment to where you have that more real experience.
Yeah, and we remember his experience in 2022 was not great. So
No.
he's another one. Hopefully, there's one spot for Canada. Wesley Chu's been out the majority of the season. We don't know what's happening with him. I
I
don't think
think
anyone else is
it's
really pushing. So,
Yeah, no one else really pushing. I don't see a situation other than injury. Like, I think it could be one of those, I'm taking the fall season off. I'm just going to go to Canadian Nationals. You can monitor me or something. I'd still send him. Like, because because that's the reality. Like, who's going to really do better than
Mhm.
Roman? And
Mhm.
potential wise, he's far and away the best skater in
And
Canada.
if they would give him the correct PCS,
Right. He
even
should be
here he
high
would be.
80s. This should have been a high 80s performance, not mid 80s,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Speaking of high PCS, and rightfully so, Jason Brown.
Oh God, yeah, that was better than a lot of it was better than Worlds even. It's like, we
I
were talking about the skaters who took a vacation after. This felt like he still was training.
Yeah,
Like,
I think I don't. The one thing that the first thing that I noticed at Worlds, that long day that I spent, the 17 hours, he was one of the last skaters of the day, and I watched him go into his triple axel, and the pattern was so quick, and it was not this big circle around the ice, holding.
mhm.
He's forcing himself to really go up quickly, and I think that he doesn't have the time to think about what can go wrong with it, and he doesn't ride that edge for so long. I think that's helping the the flip. I mean, okay, let's start from the
So
top. The
good.
flip
It
and
was
the
so
steps all
good.
the way down the ice directly into it, no pause. The flow out of it,
And the leg
everything.
extension, how he held the landing, it was great. It was like I remember what was that year he was it second where he got the small medal at Worlds? I forgot what year it was. Regardless, I remember how great his triple flip was, and the same thing. And that was like peak him, where he didn't have a quad, but he was putting in these great transitions and
Mhm.
difficult transitions
Mhm.
before. It was smooth, it was high, the pick was easy, the landing was smooth, great extension, and this felt almost there, back to that
Mhm.
point. I would have given it +4. Easy +4 to me, almost +5. And I'm looking at the protocol now and I'm seeing judges who gave it +3, and I'm like, I don't know what they were doing.
Mhm. I mean,
And
the steps went all the way down the ice. There was no
right.
hesitation. I know that now the individual jump doesn't have to have steps into it at all, but it's nice to see that he has not only a few steps, but this is literally choreography all the way down the ice. Flows out, has distance, has extension.
And
It really cannot get much better.
and I know that like there was a lot of talk amongst like the fandom how hard he was working when we didn't see him at nationals and he was getting this bye to go to worlds. There was a lot of debate of like, we were just even saying even if he did a triple double triple and a double axel short program, he'll make the long. He 100% should go to worlds. And that was the debate we were having of whether a triple double, a triple, and a double axel were enough. And I'm looking here and I'm just like, this debate was completely wrong and unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's clear he's been
Right.
working really hard. It's clear he's been working on improving. And if anything, he's improving some of his elements, like the triple axel. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm here
The
for it. Send him
snap
to
into it
Worlds.
is so much better. Yeah, the
So
snap
just the
is so
Olympics, I
much
mean.
better.
Yeah, so much better.
Yeah. I I I see the debates too. I see the discussions about how other skaters aren't getting the chance and he keeps coming back and taking that chance. But this is what I say. We've seen Andrew Torgashev twice at Worlds. I love his skating, but he's finished outside the top 20 twice at Worlds now. Nothing against him. It just he had a really good season all year this year. Worlds didn't go his way. We see other skaters in the US maybe have one good event here or there, not really a consistent. I really question what skater could have gone to Worlds and
Right.
with Ilya gotten the required, 13 or less points, which means Ilya wins, you have to be top 12. Which other skater was likely to do that and hold three spots for the Olympics? Because if you don't get to that 13, you're not going to Beijing to even try to get a third spot. There's just two spots, end of story. So Jason not only went above and beyond there, but he also almost won a small medal in the free skate at Worlds. So it's like he clearly, to me, I feel like the beginning of this season started rough. I think that he hit his groove. I think he's going to keep that groove over the summer because he doesn't want to go through this maybe slow start again. And I think that he's very clearly number two for the Olympics. And you can't tell me otherwise. He's repeatedly, I don't want to say saved a spot for the US, but he's repeatedly shown that he's among the top in the world without the quad. I don't care. I don't care. Like
Yeah, 100%.
Not having a quad doesn't have anything to do with giving +4 or +5 on these spins, the jump elements that have the flow, the steps. The Tarzan music is whatever to me. It's not, I'm not captivated by it, but the program is really good. The choreography is very good. He moves like he's 18 years old still. He's 30 now.
Yep.
He he does in both programs. I think he does it more effectively in the free skate, but he does this transition move down into the sit spin in his combination. That is, it's just this little nuances that are just so good. And I think that his PCS should easily be better than his teammate Ilya. But I'm
How is
happy
he
that
not
he's still in the
winning?
90s. Yeah, I don't know.
Like, to me, the PCS debate should always be in a competition like this, should always be between, Jason and Yuma, you
And
know?
Kevin to an extent, maybe.
But he doesn't have their skating skills, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And to me, I'm looking at this and I'm just like, oh God, who's putting like Jason Brown fourth in skating skills? Like to
Hmm.
me, that just doesn't make
Hmm.
any sense.
Hmm.
To me, this was
Hmm.
an easy one in PCS.
Hmm.
I, this even to me, he should have been second overall here for the short program. Like that's what I
Yeah,
think. But we'll get to that. But yeah, I love Jason. I
yeah,
just glad he's still around.
yeah. Me too. I mean, he really, I'm gonna repeat it for people that don't understand. You can give all the chances you want to the other skaters, but they're not really taking advantage of those chances. I don't think going to Worlds is necessarily, it didn't, it hasn't worked for Andrew, and I'm not putting him down, but it's not that this Worlds experience is suddenly going to boost you
Right.
into a top tier skater. So let Jason finish on his own terms.
I mean,
Let
look,
him skate
Camden got a
until he
small
wants
medal
to.
at Worlds, and he
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
capitalize on that at all, right?
yeah, yeah,
So it's I totally see what you mean, and I agree with you.
yeah, yeah. Okay, Daniel Grassel. He changed his short program, but I like this program. I really like it. There are moments that are so nice. He does this really kind of bent deep spread eagle, just a little move in the field in the middle of the program. He has some really nice movements, and then you get to the jumps, and I think that it's not that it's ripping him apart, but when you have a men's field that is just so deep with really good all around skaters, and you have this glaring technique that Daniel has. You have to. Unfortunately, it's something that has to be highlighted because he's one of the few now, especially on the world stage, that has this kind of iffy technique. I've said it all year. I don't know why he goes for the quad loop repeatedly because it is just so hooked. I don't know that he can get that last quarter or a third of a rotation around. It's always hooked. It's always short.
And I
So not
I
all.
agree with
Go
you.
ahead.
Yeah. No, you're good. You're good. Just it's the same thing, and sometimes I feel like there's a disconnect between what I'm seeing and then like the scores that pop up. So even like the opening combination, it looked short on the quad. It was a rough landing. The triple toe, he has that toe axle. It
Yeah, yeah,
wasn't as great landing either, and it
yeah,
still came out with net positive GOE.
yeah,
Even without an under rotation, to me, that's a base level zero
yeah.
max,
100%.
right?
I think that I think the quad actually looked the first quad, the Salchow, it looked okay. I'm not mad that it wasn't called. And I zone in on his
Yeah,
jumps and I'm usually like, why are they not calling it? Um, but yeah, I do agree that the even on a good
yeah, the
day,
loop was really bad. Yeah.
it's a zero GOE,
Hmm.
it's um
Yeah, zero GOE in the loop to me was extra under, very
mhm,
clearly
mhm,
under. And I'm just looking at the
mhm.
protocol now, and speaking of like that, I'm like, oh, a judge gave his combination and his quad loop positive GOE,
It's
even
the quad
after.
it's the psychology of the quad.
Yeah,
It's
it
honestly
is.
like it's oh wow, they're the quad loop, we don't really see it that often, and I think it's we saw it with Shoma Uno as well. It's like throw out these big scores, wow, it's a quad, but it's not reality based. But okay, so he has these nice moves in the field that he sprinkles into the program. His spin positions are very creative, and he's a decent spinner. It's again something I said at Worlds, and we've talked about. His jumps are the weakest part of his skating, but yet that's what he's always been known for. So it's very interesting that his
Right, right, exactly.
I
And
don't know.
it's really what makes almost like all the other stuff not matter as much. All these improvements he's made to his skating skills, his extension, his posture, his spins, his spin positions, all of that. It still feels like in my brain it doesn't matter for the overall picture and enjoyment when your jumps look like the way they do. And I could see
Mhm.
where in a short program, they're the first three elements for him. He's just getting them out of the way. But then he ends with that step sequence, right? And then the spins, and he's just the music's just there. Nothing's going
Mhm.
with it.
Mhm.
Half of it wasn't even to the beat. Like it,
Mhm.
yeah, extra phoned in. And so it's to where he's having improvements in places, but overall, it's just not coming
Mhm.
together still for me. And I'm hoping to see two other Italians at the Olympics. That's just my
I,
personal
I
opinion.
I'm not like team anti Daniel, which I feel like
I really, yeah,
he
he
even
garners a
said
lot.
though, he even said earlier this year, he's like, thanks to all my haters, and he knows that. I mean, if that gives him motivation, then great. I think that he's not as bad of a skater as people try to put out there,
I
but
just like others more, it's like I
yeah,
like Memela and I like Rizzo more.
yeah,
That's really all it is for me.
and that's and like it comes down to everybody. If I am talking poorly, it's typically because the technical panels are not calling what they should be calling, and it's not the skaters' faults. But
Right.
like I said, when you do have all these skaters that are really good jumpers and they have the foundations, when you have somebody like Daniel and it stands out, you have to talk about it. All right, enough of him. Nika Gadze talking about vacations. I don't know. It looks like he definitely had some time
Yeah.
off between worlds, and now I, I go back to what I said at Worlds. He has a really strong personality outside of the competition. In the competition, it doesn't help that three skaters were using this music this year, and Andrew Torgashev
Yeah.
being one of them, who does circles around him as far as is the commitment to the program. I will say, uh, I don't know. He's so naturally talented. His jumps just come out of nowhere typically. Didn't really feel much of anything today. I'm sure he had a break after Worlds. I'm sure that this
Yeah.
competition, Georgia knew coming in, they're gonna probably
He
finish
last.
sixth or maybe push for fifth, but that's it. And they're having fun and that's it. I just didn't get much out of the performance
Yeah,
as
like for
as usual,
real, right? And it's like the only reason to even try to for the team to want to do well is to place higher. And if you're already going to be slotted last-ish because you have t two of your team members are re coming out of retirement for this event, how much you're going to put in. I'm choosing a vacation too. I'm going to an
Hmm.
island
Hmm.
somewhere after a long season and worlds like that. And, coming down off that excitement of a first top 10, qualifying a second spot that may or may not get used. Yeah, I'm not worried about my result here. I
Yeah.
have a question though. Yeah, you talk about that. I don't remember from Worlds him having such the difficult footwork and just an immediate entrance in the triple axel. My brain
No, he
doesn't
always
remember
goes under
that.
the
He's always
axle.
been like that.
I
Oh
think
wow,
so
it was
because
just
yeah,
okay.
yeah. I remember in practices he's one of those skaters that just kind of turns and goes up. Like most of his jumps, though, even quad salchow, he typically he'll
Mm,
do like a three turn or a set of three turns, and he'll just go right into it. He's I, I see little improvements in his skating. He changed his free skate at Worlds. I think that it was better than the first program. He just needs to break into that personality and maybe not
yeah.
put all the jump elements so relatively close together and maybe try to put a little bit of a program in there somewhere. But
I agree, and I don't know what the issue the team's having, trying to have access to like this type of personality in his program, and I always go back to that like Cove Toon story of hearing how Tarasa was trying to give him artistic expression, and it was literally the most shallow emotion of desire.
mhm.
Like, think about that car you really want. This feels very much like that's the direction he's being given.
Yeah.
And it's clear there's something deeper there, and I want to see that because I really
Hmm.
want to root for him, especially seeing him at
Hmm.
Worlds and what a fan and a nerd he really is at heart
Hmm.
about the
Hmm.
sport, and that just made me want to enjoy his skating more.
Same,
Yeah,
same. Okay, Nikolai Mimola, as I mentioned in our
yeah,
Worlds recap, I saw him doing quad flip pretty easily in practice, and then we didn't see it in the competition. So I was like, maybe he's always had this in practice. Maybe, he doesn't, he's more comfortable with the four luts as he does in the free skate. I don't know. but he actually was apparently going for quad flip here. It was a big
Yeah.
pop into a double, and then uh, really, the commentator Chris Howarth said on the air that he believed he was going to go for a quad flip triple toe and then a quad lutz on its own. I don't know. I would assume the quad flips the individual jump, and he's doing quad lutz triple toe as he has been doing. Uh, I don't know. I'm seeing that he's really going to push. I hope that not only technically, but I hope that Barbara works with him over the summer and maybe really hits basics because the spins are still subpar. And I don't fault him. He's 6'5". It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to get into these positions. But not only the spins, but the footwork is, I don't want to say clunky, but it's definitely slow. His overall carriage is slow. So hit those basics really hard. Do those two big quads in the short program. He's in the final group 100%. He was already in the
Yeah.
final group basically with he was in the final group without a second quad or yeah, he only did yeah, quad lutz in the short before. So add that quad flip and there's going to be some PCS boost because there's two difficult quads being done in short program and he's definitely setting himself up. Surprisingly, I don't think anyone saw this a year and a half ago, but he's setting himself up as potentially the leader again next year of Italian men's skating.
Yeah, and I think he was smart to start trying to add the quad flip here, because I hadn't seen it before, and you had said he had been doing it in practice. And then it's really clear that there is a strategy to this, that they see this as the key to breaking away from that pack. Even if he was the leader this season, it still felt like everyone was in that mix for the two spots. Add this quad flip, he's clearly out. He's clearly breaks away, just considering where how the judges have been scoring him. But I agree with you. He does need to work on those basics. They really do. Like in the second half of the program, it's really all I think about is how I want him to improve his basics, especially when he gets to the steps. They just slow down, and yeah, and I wonder how much of that has to do with height. I've clearly never been that tall, but I already don't like to bend down. I don't like to, go into my knees, and I can't imagine what it's like for that here. And then but I'm a big fan in general, especially just because he has that flair and that charisma that is just really missing a lot of the times in these competitions. There's like a handful of people who can do it, and maybe he doesn't have the skating skills now, but you give him those skating skills, I could really see him maybe not being as kind of like an introverted, sensitive like Kevin, but more of like a big performer who's going to give you those bombastic
Oh, he
pokers
has
that are in your
personality for sure.
face. Yeah,
Yeah.
the personality's there, but it's more like bombastic, and I really
Mhm.
want to see him kind of lean into the drama and almost go back and do like a retro, old school Russian dramatic style, but with like his modern flair. I think that type of program would be great to see for him.
Shun Sato, I saw in his quotes after the program. I wonder why he had a mask on in the kiss and cry. I'm like, maybe he's sick. I saw in his quotes after the short, he has a fever and he is
What?
not feeling well. So
Wait,
yeah.
wait, that's how he
So
skates without
yeah,
fever.
yeah, yeah. So I figured something was going on, and then he confirmed it in
That's
a.
so
I
good.
saw
That's
one of the quotes
ridiculous.
on social media. His he talk about we talk about Jason and this kind of ease of his toe pick. Shun Sato and all of his jumps, those toe jumps, the toe pick is like second nature. He floats, he rotates so fast, he lands deep knee. I think this program shows off his skating skills better than anything he's ever done. I think that his posture, his extension is really, really nice.
So good.
Yeah. Only triple S triple toe. I think we know he's not feeling well. So that's probably why that happened. Still, though,
I didn't care.
really good.
I didn't
Really good.
care.
Yeah. Yeah. Really good.
I'm just like
Really
give him
good.
all the skating skills. Like
Mhm.
he, I don't know, should be second skating skills for this event. Like to me, really easy. He was sick. I'm sorry, I'm still processing that. This does not
Yeah.
feel like that. I felt like he was in the performance. I didn't feel like he had this distraction, and I just felt like the triple S triple toe was just like it's World Team Trophy. I'd rather skate clean and
Yeah.
go for that,
Yeah.
kind of give something to the audience as opposed to risking the performance. But I don't know. He was sick.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
I knew something was up. I knew. At the end of the program, you could see a little bit too that something was going on, but he still skated great. the jumps beautiful, the spins beautiful, posture. Um, just bring that personality out a little bit more. And I think he's going to, he often gets stuck in these low 80s PCS, which he's getting clumped in with skaters that are nowhere near his level. So bring out that personality a little bit more. And I think that I wouldn't have said it at the beginning of the season, but I think that he's also setting himself up as someone who probably is almost a lock for an Olympic. I don't know. Actually, I don't want to say because things change so fast with Japan
Yeah,
and
in Japan,
nationals
yeah.
is yeah. So, but he's definitely that quad lutz when he does it, amazing. Rotated so fast, quad toe is beauty. So, all things considered, really good skating. Kevin Amos, huge. I'm a huge fan. I always go on this like emotional journey with him when he's skating,
Yeah.
and I feel everything that he's doing, and I really get invested in the performance he's putting out there. Now, the quad toe was a very generous call, a very generous
So
call. That
under.
should have
It
been
was
under
clearly
rotated. Yeah,
under. Yeah, they
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
call it.
yeah.
World Team Trophy.
Yeah, World Team Trophy, and I know he was touring right after Worlds, and I know he's been keeping busy with. I think actually, like in
Okay.
the last few days, he was doing some tour in France. So, uh, little tight here, but
Yeah,
I,
because it felt
I,
like that. Like
I,
after the axle, everything just kind of started feeling a little tired, a little not like his peak or his best, but still really loved it.
yeah, and this program is my favorite short that he's done. So I was happy to see it one last time. We know he's going back to Bolero next year for the free skate.
Oh, we do?
And yeah,
Oh, I'm a
he
big
said
fan of
that.
that decision. Love that decision
Yeah,
because I
he
really
said
want to
that
see that
early.
live.
Yeah. He said that early in the season. I think in Skate America or maybe in Finlandia, one of the Grand Prix, he told them, "Yes, I'm going back to Bolero." Um, so I saw quad salchow from him in practice at Worlds. I think that he's going to take the summer. He's really invested now in more off ice training than on ice training, and I think that it's going well for him more or less. I hope that he continues this wave of decent skating. He had that one off performance at Europeans in a big way, but otherwise this season's been really good for him. I hope the free skate goes well for him here, but he seems like all the pressure is just off of him now, and he's having a lot of fun. And he's the team captain again for France, and he's really going above and beyond to cheer for all of his teammates, and you can tell he's having fun. And even on the quad toe, he kind of got up from it and he's like, oh, whatever, like next jump. So I hope that this continues to be the trend for him and he doesn't let the performance go and he takes us on that emotional journey every single time.
Yeah. So on Adam, on Adam, like it's you're just watching this here and then watching Kevin. It's I prefer Kevin so much more, and I like the last 2 or 3 years, I'd kind of gone up and down between who I preferred, and I've kind of really settled on Kevin because Adam, it seems to me like in terms of performance, has already kind of peaked at what kind of performance he can really give, and then the type of emotion he can really give you in it, and it's all this kind of one level to where I feel like Kevin is just way more dynamic and can give you these really different levels with even within a performance. And I'm finding myself with Adam skating now, always being distracted by the technique. When before, even with the technique, I'd be like, oh, look, all these cool things he's doing. It's kind of lost that for me. It really has. And now I'm just like, oh, yay, were our hopes and prayers enough for his quads today?
I don't know. I think I'm slightly the opposite. I like his skating. I'm glad that he stuck with this short program all year as opposed to the other one we saw earlier in the year. The jumps are all over the place. I mean the jumps
Yeah.
literally are they go up crooked. That axle almost comes to a complete stop and it goes straight up and straight down. But when he does land the quads, aside from the axle, the quads are typically very good. The quad toe here was leaning inwards from the minute he went up in the air. And from the first angle we saw, it was like, how did he ever hold on to that? And that's more or less the story of him. He has
Yeah.
some dicey jumps all the time, and he more often than not lands them. And I don't know. I think that he's a very modern. It's to me, it's almost like Dennis Vasilyev's, where he probably has all these thoughts in his head about the meaning of all this stuff and the deeper whatever that he's trying to put out there. And I don't really, I've never really followed his interviews, so I don't know if that's true. But it seems like he's given this material and he kind of elevates it to his own personal interpretation of it, and it's always some kind of modern dance, I guess, incorporation to it. I don't. I like his skating actually quite a bit. I see his shortcomings, and I agree that I think that Kevin is more versatile in being able to pull off any kind of music, really. But I think Adam has room to grow still. I think that
Yeah.
he's on those big moments, and I don't know. I enjoy his skating, even with the mistakes. I still enjoy the energy that he puts out.
I still enjoy it. I think it's just relative, just considering that, they were back to back and
Mhm.
just seeing them, it felt really jarring, right? To go from kind of just not worrying about the performance as much, being able to just get into a program, whereas here is always just kind of this little like, and then even then at the end where the combination spin, I felt extra out of the performance because it's a really nice, soft ending to the music, but he's got this really dynamic combination spin. And to me, like, why didn't you just end with the steps? That would have just
Mhm.
matched so much better. And it's not like he
Mhm.
was listening to the steps all that or the music all that well during the steps.
Mhm.
I don't know. Just a strange choice. I don't really get it. Anyway,
Yuma Kagiyama, I think that we both have said he's one of my favorite skaters of all time. I think he is one of the best, maybe if not the best, all around skaters we've ever seen. Skating is just from the first moment, the skating is beautiful. Combination easy. Talk about floating jumps. Talk about that perfect back and the perfect knee bend and all of the and the speed in and out and the height and the distance are equally impressive and all of that stuff. Going for quad flip here apparently in the short. I don't think he was going the Shun Sato route and reducing his jumps to a triple flip. I'm sure it was supposed to be a quad flip, but from a mile away you could see that the jump was not going to work before he even went up in the air. I think that it was just rushed and the toe pick was all wrong and he was lost in the air. And I don't know, but even with the mistakes, I don't care. It never takes me out of his overall commitment to the performance, and the use of his body and the step sequences are always amazing. And I don't know. He's skated some music that I really don't like in the past, like Michael Bublé and Imagine Dragons, and it would be not be stuff that I would put on my playlist, but I still like the skating and the
right.
the core of what he is offering. And not he's had a really I will say he's had a rough season, but he still has the results because he does have such strong elements otherwise, even when he makes mistakes. I think it was 10th in the free skate at Worlds or something, but I don't care. Like I
I know, yeah.
still I still love watching him and score him down on PCS slightly for the mistakes and kind of getting out of the performance, but he gets back into it and he's enjoyable. I don't know. I can gush endlessly, but at the end of the day, he's just really enjoyable.
Yeah, same. It's like I feel like we sound like broken records talking about Yuma because we say the same things all the time, but it's not like they're not true. It's not like they stopped being true ever. The skating skills just like, especially in person, you just find yourself getting lost in them and just wanting to watch him and just the way he just moves up and down and curves around. Like again, it doesn't matter what music is playing, and he's one of those skaters because his skating skills are so good, his performance quality is so good, posture, everything, to where it transcends whatever music he's using, even like really bad choreography at times. Like I said, like I was not a fan of his some of his programs too. I would say in his program catalog, there's more misses than hits, right? But there are other
Mhm.
skaters like that too that are legends like Virtue and Mar. I would say most of their program catalog I really dislike. I still
Mhm.
enjoyed the skating to those programs because
Mhm.
they just
Mhm.
transcended it in the material.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Ilya Malinin, I wrote on my notes. I saw in the clip we saw in the warm up, he popped the flip to a double, and
Oh,
when he did that, he came around the corner and he I don't want to say he looked panicked, but he just looked like something was off. And then he went and talked to his mom, who's here coaching him. And So I didn't expect much from the performance because we don't see typically he'll make a mistake and then it's whatever, he just goes to the performance.
Yeah.
Flip looked tight in the performance, turned out of it, kind of covered slightly with the transitional twizzles or whatever he has out of it. Triple axel, I respect that he does no preparation into it. I respect that aspect, but for me personally, still getting that +3 or +4 or whatever the
Yeah, this
judges
is a bit
are
much.
settling on, it's a bit much because you see someone like Kevin. Let's go back to Kevin. He does this spread eagle. He gets height and distance. He gets this really good flow out of the jump. I think he has one of the best triple axels. Then you see Elia. Okay, yes, he has no preparation, and that's worth something, I guess. But he does not have any flow out of that jump, and it really kind of goes up and down as well. We talk about Adam doing this, but Elia
Yeah,
isn't really getting the distance on it. You know,
he's
it's in.
he's definitely getting some quad axle cred for his triple axle. Like I never hear though it is getting better because I know that's something I've harped on is that his triple axle is one of his weaker jumps, weirdly enough.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but it is getting better. I did see a little more flow out of it, but I agree with you. The GOE is still too high. Like, I think they were, yeah, mostly +3s, but to me that was a plus
Yeah.
two. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's nitpicking, it's the World Team Trophy and they're
yeah, it's
going to throw out high
nitpicking,
scores
but
and they're
there. Yeah, but some of the stuff
but
too, like
comparatively.
there's improvement. Yeah, comparatively. And then the combination, like the Lutz toe is getting better. And what I'm noticing, I'm not sure if you see the same thing, it feels a lot like what Frank did with Gracie, is that they're having him rotate faster and not get as much height on the quad
Mhm.
Lutz to have that better control and speed on the landing to then do the toe because he was getting under on the toe a lot. And it wasn't always
Yeah, yeah,
called, but it
yeah.
was consistently Q or under on the toe. And this season, not at all, right? You could
It's
see that they
very
really
interesting.
cleaned it up.
100% is very interesting to me. And when you were just saying that, I remember I Joanie Rochette, who skated her peak years were 15, 20 years ago, but I remember having this discussion with her when she was doing triple toe, how for me, just being technician and knowing the mechanics of the jumps, I was always telling her, I think your first triple toe needs to be more distance and more quick because then when you land, you have this more force to get up into the second triple toe. And what you're telling me with Elia is like basically exactly what they're doing. They're making the first jump not as big because I feel like when you jump big, you have all this time to come down, and then it's really, really hard to get back into the position. So I feel like this is something that we're seeing. I think every skater basically should do this. It just makes more sense to me. It gives you the momentum to get up into the second jump. But I do agree. I think the Lutz looks easy. I mean, all of his
Mhm.
jumps look relatively, but it all looks good. I think the costume is hideous. I really don't understand it at all. It's not him. This
Yeah.
program is so fresh and young, and you have this like tribute to Ilya Klimkin, Russian skaters of the early 2000s, whatever this thing is. I don't know. I don't think it goes with the program. I don't care though. I never say like, oh, the costume's ruining it for me or whatever. I just think it's a
Yeah.
very interesting choice. Like I don't know how he ever came up with the little like peekaboo of the shoulders. I don't get any of it. But I will say again,
Yeah.
I think this competitively, I think this is by far his best program he's ever done. You can tell that he really likes it. He always gives it so much energy. It's and the song always gets stuck in my head afterwards. Like I after I watch an entire event, like afterwards, the song will be in my head, and I'm
I love
thinking
how you
about
were
when he
saying
starts.
that and it was playing in the background of my
Yeah,
brain.
yeah,
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 it's just literally as you're
yeah.
saying that. Wow.
Yeah. He's so good for the sport. He's bringing like this fresh, yeah, he brings this technical masterfulness, and he's we saw at Worlds in the exhibition, he has this artistic side that I hope gets brought more into the competitive programs next year. But anyways, it doesn't really matter if he continues on this technical romping of everybody else. It's really not going to matter what kind of program he can go
Right.
out and do not one thing, and it's not going to matter. But I know that he has the potential, and he's already shown it in his exhibition. So I hope that we see just an elevated Elia next year. But please, like, go the Nathan route and just wear
I
a
was just,
t-shirt that like that
yeah.
this outfit is just not it.
What was that one year where apparently he just wore something out of Shaylin Bourne's closet?
It was the Rocket Man
The
program,
Truman
I'm
Show
sure. No,
one.
the Rocket, or no, and maybe it was that. I don't know. I thought it was the
Whatever.
Rocket
Do
Man, but
go do
yeah,
that, right? Next time
yeah.
Shaylin does your program, just ask her for some extra clothes that she doesn't need because
Hmm.
that was great. I loved it. It was simple. It had some
Hmm.
like texture
Hmm.
to it. It didn't feel like just a practice costumes, which everyone complained
Yeah,
about, to me anyway. But this is
yeah,
too far the other direction. I agree, but
yeah,
it doesn't matter.
yeah.
I don't even think
It
about it
doesn't
most of the
matter.
time. But yeah,
Yeah. All
don't
right.
waste the money
Ooh,
though.
yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
don't know. That was ugh. All right. Women's short program, starting with Alina Urashadze from Georgia. She is another one. I feel like she abruptly retired from the sport, and I always assumed Gubanova was the reason, maybe why that she was getting pushed out because of her. But then at the same time, it's like if Gubanova was going to finish in the top 10, then why not stick around because you have this extra spot? I don't know the details. I haven't followed her since she disappeared, and here clearly has not been training,
Right.
but she's going to get a nice paycheck anyways. But
Yeah.
aside from, I don't know if this is an old program or not because I don't remember her skating enough. But
I was gonna
I
ask if you
thought
knew.
no, I don't remember. But I will say like she was having so much fun. I didn't really
Yeah.
care about the jumps. This
Like
event
honestly, yeah.
I have to look at it like it's for fun, and it's Team Georgia again, and they came in having to pull two skaters out of retirement basically. So you want her to go sulk around the ice because she can't do a triple? I mean, she had so much fun with it. It was one of my favorite programs of the day just because she looked like she was having so much fun. And she saw her score was 37 or 38 or whatever it was in the kiss and cry. She'd laugh about it. Some people might think that's disrespectful, but she's pulled into this event a few weeks ago out of nowhere, and it is what it is. I liked her.
Yeah, Lena, the same thing. You could tell that just see it for fun. This was we need to find somebody. Do you want a vacation to Japan and some prize money?
Mhm.
Right? Like that's what this was. And I don't who's gonna falter for that? Yeah, go
She
have
had fun.
fun, collect the
Yeah.
check, enjoy Japan.
Yeah, she had fun, and that's all.
Right.
It's a cheese fest. It's prestigious, whatever. But for a team that's not competing for a medal, I'd rather see her go out and have fun than sulk around because she can't do a triple sock out. It is what it is.
Right. Which totally looked like a planned double to me, but
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah. But Sarah Maud Dupuis, yeah, I wrote a note here that I'm like, somehow this feels both old school and old fashioned, but also
100%.
new. And I didn't understand this feeling. I don't know what it was and why I felt that way. Because somehow, maybe it's because I'm a tired millennial, but hearing Evanescence feels old.
But that's why. That's 100%
Is that
why.
it?
Because
Okay.
when we were in high school, this was like everyone's like little emo music,
Right.
and that's what it
Oh,
was.
definitely.
Yeah. But I've said it since I first saw her. I think that she has a really big throwback to 6.0 kind of skating where you don't really necessarily feel like you're watching an IJS program. Uh, she has good jumps. Her
Yeah.
triple toe was good. She was ahead of Madeline at Four Continents. I think if she continues on this track of delivering strong programs, I think she can really make it interesting next year. I know Madeline has basically held Canadian women's skating for the last Olympic cycle, but I I think Sarah Maud is probably the better skater. I think that skating skills wise, she's probably better. And I think that if she keeps delivering, she can make things really interesting. I don't know. I don't know that Canada. I feel like Canada would be like, okay, well, you won nationals, but now we're going to take four continents to decide what we want to do. One of those situations. I don't know, but I think she can make it interesting.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. Because I know like what was it like this close between them potentially having that second spot and it just didn't happen.
Like 2 points or something, 3 points,
Yeah.
something.
And so like I really enjoyed her performance. Yeah, it was really fun. Even that like old and new, it felt very
Hmm.
kind of like weirdly refreshing. I don't know how to
Hmm.
describe that, but yeah, I don't think there'll be much of a competition. I still see it really going to Madeline next year, the Olympic
Hmm.
spot, but we'll see. It's Canadian ladies or women's skating, and so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leia Serna from France. She was a skater that wasn't at Worlds, so I didn't tell the story. But
Yeah.
at Skate America, she had a very bad short program, and she just looked deflated. She came and sat in the stands. I think she was watching Kevin or one of the other French skaters. She was in the stands, and she was right behind me. So I turned around, I'm like, "Good luck in the free skate," and she just was deflated. Like she
Oh.
was not happy. And then she had a really good free skate there, and I
Oh.
feel like she's very hard on herself, and um. I want her to be pushing for that one French spot. Uh, I think she's the better skater of the two, but we'll talk about Lauren when we get to her. But I think all year long she's done triple double when it's like I feel like she could do a triple triple. I don't know I feel like she did it in the past. If I remember correctly,
Yeah,
she was doing
that's
it
the thought I
before.
had, that like she could have added that triple toe at the end of the triple
Hmm.
double, and I didn't. But it could have just been a
Yeah.
planned triple double for the same reasons of I'm just here to do a good performance. I
Plain.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be clean. I don't need to go for the triple triple. What's it really going to earn me? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I think there's actually, I'm not sure if there's another French skater, Stephanie Gladkey. I don't know if she's old enough next year to compete for the Olympic spot, but if she is, then you have three skaters really pushing for that one
Interesting.
spot. So yeah. Anna Pizzetta from Italy, she is known for massive jumps. She crashed into the boards actually at Junior Worlds. That's how big her jumps are. They cover so much distance. I don't remember a skater in recent history, at least in the women's. Maybe Caitlin Osmond is the last one that
Yeah.
had that kind of velocity on her jumps. So, jumps are great. I wouldn't say the technique is outstanding. It's just more the amplitude and the hugeness of them really stands out. I don't think that the rest of her skating is amazing quite
Yeah.
yet. For me personally, I know that she's on everybody's radar as this next big skater, but I think her teammate Laura is head and shoulders quite a bit above her personally. I think that at this point she's the choice for the Olympics, I would say. Anna just needs to really hone down that energy. It's interesting because the energy on the jumps is off the charts, but then in the program itself,
Yeah.
Firebird, it's like,
I
you know,
wrote I needed more fire in this
mm,
Firebird. There wasn't even
mm,
enough bird in the Firebird, and
yeah,
that's the easiest part to add. Like,
no,
I'm
yeah,
like, throw a wing
no,
flap or something. Just,
yeah,
I
no.
I was even missing kind of that obvious cheese. Like, and once she did the combination where I'm like, oh my God, like +3, easy. The judges aren't giving this enough GOE. Some were just doing +2 because, she's just a lower ranked, Italian skater. But after that, it was just very much like, oh God, I need more something. I need more. I need more. Yeah. I wanted to go get a cup
Mhm.
of coffee, that type of feeling. Yeah, I'm Gutmann, I'm pro Gutmann too in terms of like who should go to the Olympics as well. Just I feel like that's the clear choice, at this moment.
Next, because she has no world standing points, Alyssa Liu was
I know,
next.
right?
Uh,
That was
First
weird.
group. Yeah, I love this short program. I think that it is so well choreographed. I think it plays into showing how much she's developed in the time she was out of skating, because this is a, a different world for her. This is so more elevated than what she showed before she retired. She feels the skating, she believes in it, she understands how to move. I don't think I could have ever envisioned her becoming an artistic skater from how
I
she was.
know.
And it's not like she's like this old woman that suddenly like understands. She's 19 years old. She's a good skater, and she understands the second half of what figure skating is now, and it's
Right.
so nice to see. Like I'm very impressed by her. Again, her combination always looks tight to me. It's just the way she picks in for the toe loop. It's kind of like it's reaching around. I don't think it was a problem today. The Lutz looked actually really good.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
yeah, um, she doesn't. If I'm going to nitpick, what does she need to do? I mean, probably nothing because she's world champion now. But she could work on her skating skills.
Yeah,
She can
that's
still
what it
work on
is.
her speed and but she's I don't really care. Like at Worlds, I didn't care that the second half of her free skate really didn't have that much because it's just her energy and her whole approach to skating now is just so chill and whatever happens happens and that makes the performance better too.
It's, it's you can see that if you because if you just look at like her last free skate at Worlds versus the free skate at this Worlds, it's two different skaters. I would, if you would have not given me the names and everything, it would have been like, oh, are they related? Are they sisters?
Mhm,
Because it
mhm,
feels like a different person. And when you read her interview, she talks so much without saying it about personal growth, emotional intelligence, basically how she's done a lot of work, on herself and understanding herself and what she wants. And then you can see that and how she mentioned it and you talked about it. Now she's owning it, right? This is for her. This is her journey now instead of it, possibly feeling like someone else's. And you can feel that. And I wrote
mhm,
here like she's developed basically it's like a Quan-like quality to where it's this kind of introverted regality. Like you're there with her on her journey. You don't feel like she's necessarily performing outward to you in this short program. It's there's a lot. I could just keep going on and on. I could keep gushing. But I agree with you. It's the skating skills where she really needs to work, and that's the most glaring weakness she has relative to the Japanese skaters, because
mhm,
the Japanese skaters are miles and away better.
mhm,
And it's you can really see it in the step sequences in the second half of programs. But if she's also offering something none of them are, right?
mhm, mhm,
It's the most emotionally intelligent skating that we have in the field right
mhm,
now, and I
mhm,
think that's what's connecting with everybody.
mhm. Next was Lauren Shield. I think I actually am very impressed with how she's improving.
Yeah,
I think that I don't know. It's interesting because I think in the last few years, I've been like, oh, her skating skills, everything's just a little bit a few notches below everybody else. I thought, she doesn't her carriage is not great. Um, I think this program is so far away from what I would choose for her, but it actually is kind of nice. She's smoothing out. I don't think
agree.
I don't think that she's at that top level yet, but I think she's trying and she's at least listening to the music. I think that the choreography can be amped up. I think that the difficulty, the intricacy can be amped up. I think she started triple Dutch triple toe and it kind of went straight down really quick and it was really nice. She's she's enjoyable now. I don't
Yeah,
feel like
I agree.
it's I remember her program and I remember what she skated to and I think she's well on her way too.
Yeah, and the jumps weren't as dodgy as I'm used to
Hmm.
seeing, from her, and
Hmm.
that's really great. And I agree with you on everything. Just the one observation I have outside of that was that when she was doing choreography, it was very windmilly, is the way I wrote here. It just kept kind of like doing these types of things and airplane
Hmm.
arms, and then it made me think of Hughes. Like I
Hmm.
wrote, it's like there's the whole vibe of Sarah Hughes 2001, but with her 2023 level of movement, to where it is smoother, there is more extension.
2003.
Yeah, Sarah Hughes level 2003, where her
Yeah,
jumps
not
weren't as
23.
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I wrote 23, 2003.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
said
Yeah, yeah,
23.
yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yay.
I'm like, wait,
Only in
this
my
is not
late
Deanna Stellato.
30s.
Yeah, it's okay.
Very good.
Okay. Laranaki Gutman, as we mentioned in Worlds, she can still elevate this program more than she does. I'm just gonna say that to start, but I don't care because it's so different. It gives me throwback to like Letitia Hubert or some of these really off the wall
Yeah.
kind of
Yes.
skaters that you don't see anymore because everyone opts to skate to this slow lyrical whatever. I don't have to match the phrasing of the music. I can jump whenever. But you have her skating to Squid Game. Uh, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I think it's just so cool. She skated so well. I wish she would have done this at Worlds because I think she would have been in the top 10 in the short program and I think
Yeah.
she would have had a fighting chance to get that second spot for Italy. But it's what else can I say? It's a cool program. It is if you want to talk about the marketability and the way to bring people in, I'm sure, put this program on social media and no one's going to care that sometimes she's in and out of the face of the performance. They're just going to be like, "Oh, it's Squid
Right,
Game. She's
right.
You know,
Mhm.
it's cool. So
This is the program that should be on all the ISU social media. It's like they'll put stuff up and it's like here's our world champion, here's whatever, or like, here's Kariori doing Chicago. I'm sorry. 20 somethings are watching Chicago.
hmm
They're like, who are
hmm
these old people in this old movie?
hmm
This to me, again, I agree with you. Coolest program of the year, like by far, even if the skating isn't my favorite, even if some of the posture and extension leaves a bit to be desired, I don't care. In a program like this, I'm here for the performance, I'm here for the concept, right? This is such a
hmm
concept program too. And I just always gush. I start nerding out once I think it's a flying camel. Is that what it is? Yeah. Once
When she does
she
that
does the
that
solo into flying
video
camel and
game,
it does like the
yeah, 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 yeah,
I'm
yeah,
so there. I'm so just
yeah.
like I'm all the PCS. I don't care. Like even if that means just,
hmm
high sevens, low eights, give them to
Yeah, for her. Yeah,
her.
right. Madeline Skuzis, to me, this is the story of her career. She usually gets through Let's Toe. Axel is right after that. It's not the biggest jump, but she gets through the Axel. And then we get to the second half of the program, and it's like there's this it's like she's starting the program all over again and she tenses up, and that loop more often than not seems to become a problem. It's very I
Yep.
mentioned Caitlin Osman earlier, but it's very Caitlin Osman pre 2018 where she would get through her biggest elements in the free skate, and then she would get to that second half, and it was usually I think it was the loop was the first jump, and she would always make a mistake, almost always. But then she finally found her consistency. For Madeline, I feel like it's been a little bit too long for that.
Yeah.
She's hit her short program quite a few times. I mean, she was in the final group at World, so it's not that it's an every time thing, but I just feel like there is this block. She's another skater though. Uh, I love The Lion King. I think that music can make anybody look great. I think it's a good program for her, but her shoulders and her kind of her fists when she's trying to pump to get these crossovers done. The shoulders
Hmm.
though are really noticeable, and that she's another skater. I hope over the summer, I hope she goes back and works on that kind of stuff because it's glaring, and it's not I'm not saying like, oh, give her a 4 or 5 on PCS, but I'm just saying as an enjoyment level, I see it go like this and I'm like, oh, I wish she would work on it.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And it's funny that you mentioned that because right before that triple loop, my brain, I was thinking like, is she finding consistency this season? No. She answered that question very quickly for me. Um, I wonder too, like, if she'll stick around after next year. It's really clear her goals, go to the Olympics, but after that, I wonder, what the motivation is there motivation to stay in? Because if I think about what else there is to achieve in the sport other than just, loving the process, it is results. And just given the US and Japanese fields, I don't see her breaking out, even in a four continents, an Olympic year, four continents. The fields are just too deep in the US and Japan right now. And she hasn't really
Yeah,
shown an
the top six
improvement.
skaters in the world.
Yeah, and I can see that too, what you're talking about, to where like she'll start doing this. Another Canadian skater did that, but he clawed all the time. Keegan Messing used to do that, where he would just start clawing his fingers. Yeah, I can see that here too with Maddie. Just something very similar.
But I do like it's Lion King. I like the program.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's just a foundational thing. I think that her posture, she needs to be more straight up with her back and not let her shoulders go all over the place, and
Hmm.
not make it obvious that she's really pumping, and she's using those fists to try to get energy.
And
So
it's
that's
definitely stamina because I wrote that here too, where like you can feel that it gets way worse second half of the program. All
mhm.
those things you're talking
Oh
about.
yeah, and she's always her step sequences are always it's level 2 or maybe level 3. I think it was level 3 here, but it's
Right.
often a level 2, and it's just indicative of what her basic skating level is, I
Yeah.
think. All right, well, moving on. Gubanova, she had the disaster at Worlds. Now she's going to Beijing for sure to try to qualify an Olympic spot, which she
She
should
should. She should. Yeah.
should. Very, I was very surprised by her score here, actually. It's not that I didn't, she's relatively a consistent skater outside of Worlds. I feel like Worlds is always where she hits that block. Early in the season, she's hit or miss, but Europeans is usually her best event by and far. She's podium, whatever. I I don't know. It's weird for me though, because she's another skater. I don't know if it's a Georgian thing or what, but she doesn't seem invested in the competitive
I,
programs.
I agree. I mean, this is something to where, like, she doesn't give a lot of interviews, or at least English language interviews that
Hmm.
we can read and have access to. And I see that in her skating too, to where maybe it's just something she has to do right now, and it's like her showing up to work, right? As opposed to this her what she wants to do and it's her passion. So, and for some people that's true. I don't think we think about that, but skating is their job
Hmm.
and it feels like a job to them. I don't know that
Hmm.
her situation, but I was surprised by her skate. I was surprised she skated well. Is the score surprising to you in that it was high to you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, relative to how she's been scored.
Hmm.
I mean, I
Yeah.
thought it was appropriate. High 60s is her
Hmm.
clean short program score to
Wasn't
me.
she like 69?
Yeah, 69.8.
So
I'm looking at it right
yeah, I
now.
mean,
Yeah.
so to me, like almost 70 for her. I mean, there's nothing. Her jumps are a little tight.
It's
She always
her
does the
best
arms over the
skate
head,
all year, like
but yeah,
easily, and
it's
maybe the past
yeah,
2, 3 years, because it was just
yeah,
the relative
yeah,
cleanliness of everything. I was surprised,
yeah,
and maybe it was that
yeah.
relaxed environment and just having fun in Japan. I
Hmm.
don't know, but
Yeah, yeah, and knowing that you're not really. I mean, again, it's Georgia.
right,
They're competing for maybe fifth place, and when you have two skaters coming out of retirement, I'm sure there's no pressure on her. So
right.
I I see in her exhibitions, she's another skater like her teammate Nika. I see her give a little bit more in the exhibition, and she has beautiful use of arms. I think at one point a few years ago, I said she has the best arms I've ever seen in skating. I hope for a good free skate for her. All right, so Monet Chiba, fresh off her world bronze medal. I love this program. Unfortunately, one of the highlights for me of the program is the double axel and the running edge that she has out of it. And it was not to be this event.
I know.
Um, we talked about in Ice Dance how Alyssa's program is kind of overshadowing other people's programs, and you could say it for Monet as well, but I don't think so. I think it's a cute program. I don't think it's like a masterpiece. I think her free skate is actually much better, but short program is a lot of fun. I think she gives like a youthful kind of fresh energy to it, and I think it's cool. Um, I the jumps are so easily done. It's such a disappointment about the axle, but I don't know. She's just a lot of fun, and I'm happy that she's a world medalist.
I That's crazy that she's a world medalist because I have so much joy watching her skate. And when you watch her skate, there's just this such kind of purity to it. I don't feel this level of stress or anxiety. It's just all joy. Even with that
Mhm.
fall in the double axel, which again, same thing. I was just like, oh no, I've lost this moment. But without it, it
Hmm.
was still great. I love that triple
Hmm.
flip.
Yeah.
I know it's
Hmm.
something other folks don't comment as much, but I just love how easy her triple flip is. I will comment on
Hmm.
her triple flip every day of the year if I
The
can.
topic's
It's just
soft,
easy.
soft.
Boop. Like nothing
Hmm.
hard, nothing harsh.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and you're saying you don't feel that comparison, but I do. I'm gonna hear this music and always just go back to Alyssa, and that's no fault of
I
any
heard.
skater. It really,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see it in my head. Yes, it's
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
fault of any skater. It's just you can't. It's hard to live up to a moment like that. There's so
Yeah.
much that went into that moment, but
Yeah.
I loved it. I know there's competition in Japan, not probably as much on the women's side for her.
Hmm.
I still think she should make the Olympics. Just
Who knows though? I
who
mean,
knows?
honestly,
It's
who knows?
Japan. It's
There's
Japan. A lot of
eight skaters, and they
yeah.
better be so thankful that Mao Shimada is not age eligible because she would have one of those spots for sure. But it is what it is. This Japanese skating depth is just crazy. Amber Glenn, okay.
I know.
And I commented at Worlds that I thought she was too intense going into the short here. I thought she was the opposite, and we see more of the same.
Though, instead of kind of being too intense and into it, I felt she was too distant here.
Yeah, yeah.
Opposite, say a similar issue, but the opposite end, because so much of what I feel like she has a fan base because she's always in her programs and you're always kind of
Hmm.
on that emotional journey with her. And again, whether it's a great one or a bad one, you're there. It's why you're
Hmm.
invested. Worlds
Hmm.
in here, I didn't feel any of that. I felt it at Nationals
Yeah.
too, but I felt at Nationals there was this kind of more excitement from the event itself.
Hmm.
But yeah, and I think there were issues to me on all the jumps, right? For
Agreed.
rotation
Agreed.
wise,
Hmm.
like even the triple axel to me it looked under. I don't know what they called it. The triple flip looked cute to me. The triple loop looked under to me too.
Hmm.
And so when you add up all these mistakes, she's not invested into the program, and even then, like her spins weren't, nothing was as on point. And this, she could have taken a long break after Worlds, I don't know, or been touring and not focused
Hmm.
on training. There was a lot missing. Um,
So
yeah.
she got under rotation on the triple axle. She got a
Okay.
level three on her combination spin. The other two jumps were clean. The flip
Oh,
toe got plus twos and plus threes. So maybe a little bit generous.
yeah. But
Yeah,
then
considering I
she
mean
would have
she
been in the 50s, if those were actually
yeah,
called, and
yeah,
that,
yeah.
honestly, that would have been to me a relatively accurate score, just considering all the stuff I just said. And it's just disappointing. But it's gonna be really hard to ride momentum like that because when they
You
say
know,
when
yeah,
you rise and up, you only, yeah, it's so much farther to fall. So, but I really
yeah.
hope she's able to reorganize, re-energize in this off season and come back in the fall and just pace
I think
herself
she
more.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she was riding such a high all year, and I think that it probably caught up to her by the time Worlds was in the
Yeah.
United States. There's a lot, there's a lot going on. There's
Mhm.
the media in the US, the NBC was probably breathing down her neck trying to promote her, and there's other things
And
going on in her
and your
personal life,
brain
and
thinks of possibilities. It thinks of what could be, and it can be hard to shut that out. And then when you think of what
Mhm.
could be, you want those things. And then when you want something too much, there's always
Yeah,
that. And
yeah,
I, yeah, I wouldn't know how to handle that myself. So
yeah.
anyway,
Finally, Corey Sakamoto.
Corey, yeah,
Um, this I, I'll say it again. I adore her skating, but I don't think there's been a single program I've liked since the Olympics in 2022 that I'm really like, wow, this is so amazing. I think the short program is better than the free skate.
same.
I think that it fits her natural skating better without forcing her to hold positions that are not natural to her. Let's call a spade with her. Lutz th throughout history has been on a severe inside edge. Always gets away with it. Not only always gets away with it, but she's getting plus three, plus four for it. So
Yeah,
I think here, let's see, she got so one judge dared to give her a zero. I'm sure that judge will never judge ever again. The
right, right.
rest of
No, they'll get
them,
called out, right, and they'll have to explain
yeah, gave
themselves.
from plus two to plus four, but there's majority plus three and a few plus fours in
Yeah.
there. So
And even then, the
I'm
combination to this is to where the judging is just kind of a little insane to me. Even the
mhm.
combination with the double three turns in
Oh
between,
yeah,
there are
there's a plus two
two
in there.
judges who gave positive GOE, one who just gave
Hmm.
zero, and I don't see to where this is any higher than -1. I'm giving a
Right,
-2,
right,
right? Like, because
yeah.
even then the landing on the toe wasn't great. It had
Hmm.
a shaky edge and it wasn't stable.
Hmm.
There's an argument there to even take up another -1 GOE, but there's no credit for a good landing on either jump. And so
Hmm.
you have multiple phase, say you have one phase in both jumps that are clearly poor.
Do you
And I don't
do
see
you
where
buy
people
it?
find positive GOE in this.
d- Do you have skating scores open by any chance?
I do.
So I see judge number five not only, or no, judge number six, I'm sorry, not only give a zero for the Lutz, but look at those component scores. Like, I'm just curious what placement that judge had her because those scores
Third,
are third in
third overall.
components,
No, oh, components fifth.
fifth. Okay,
Third
yeah,
overall,
they're
fifth components.
that's way out of
Italy.
line with the rest of the panel. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, interesting.
And
Okay.
this looks like it's this person's first ISU assignment or international assignment.
Well, I hope you had fun with that because
Maybe. Oh, no,
yeah.
no, no, no. Okay, no, there's one a year. It's a one a year type judge
Okay.
for the most part. Okay.
Good. All right.
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
one event. Okay.
Interesting.
Sorry, I didn't click further down. Yeah, I was just
Very
really
interesting.
surprised with some of that. Like again, the Lutz so clearly inside, not even on the replay, just watching. Uh,
Hmm.
and there was a period of time where it looked like she was trying to fix the Lutz, right? Where she
Hmm.
was trying to get that outside edge, but then it caused all these
Hmm.
problems. You still
Hmm.
see it in her flip now, in the
The toe pick all
combinations.
over the
Yeah,
place.
all over the place. And her combination this year has been wildly inconsistent, but she's just
Hmm.
gone back to not even trying to get an outside in the Lutz.
Hmm.
Just old technique, not trying, clear inside edge, but not even getting an exclamation. That's just insane to me. She's getting 7.5 points for an element where she should be getting like 4.
Not even, because if you
Not
get the
even,
full
right,
edge, then you're getting the base value
right,
drops to like a 4 or something. If you're not going to
anyway,
get called on it,
right.
I can't change what the
I get
panels
it.
do and don't do.
I,
It's
I get why
just,
she's doing this Lutz now in the short and two in the long, but
hmm
she's not getting called on it. I hope they
hmm
start calling her early next season so it's not a surprise at the Olympics if some panel wants to call it out, but
yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
So, all right, that's it for day one. The standings are
Oh
that
yeah.
the US has a pretty comfortable lead. I think that they were expected to win by a lot. They have three of the four world champions this
And they're
year.
gonna win.
Uh, and it could have been quite interesting, actually. I was looking, and if Amber had been called on one of those triples, then she probably would have been 10th place in the short program because it was pretty
Oh.
close between seventh and 10th. So that maybe gives Japan a little bit of a break, but I think it's still the US team there's to win. It's Japan very comfortably for silver. And then I think the interesting story really becomes France versus Italy. I think if the French men deliver again like they did in the short program, it might be too much for them for Italy to catch up. They're going to get points in pairs. They're going to gain back points. But if the French men can deliver again and you have a panel that goes to town on Grassel, for example, on his quads, things could be really tight there, I think, for the bronze medal. Canada,
Yeah.
probably, I don't see Canada factoring in here. I mean, I guess if they overperform again,
Right. I mean, they'll gain some
maybe
points in pairs on
pairs.
France, but not
Yep.
on Italy likely. They won't gain a lot. If they gain any, most likely they'll be behind on points. Yeah, I don't,
Mhm.
yeah, I definitely see it's France, Italy for bronze, and that'll be close. And I'm just looking in here,
Mhm.
the men is really where France is going to rely on it to stay in that third place.
Yep.
Because what, they got
Yep.
18 points here for the short program versus 8 for Italy, and that 10 points
Right.
gap is
Yep.
really what it was putting them in the head right now.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see
And
tomorrow.
yeah, the pairs, it doesn't matter if their pair is going to finish fifth or sixth place because there's only 12 to 7 point. Like
Right.
you can only have a 5 point difference. So
Yeah.
there's not that many points to get back. Georgia going to finish last almost surely, but like I said, they put a team together with two skaters that were retired. So they're happy to be there.
And
They
they're
seem like they're
only
having
three
fun.
points
That's it.
behind considering that, and
Yeah.
their retired
Yeah.
skaters already competed. So
Yeah.
just considering
Oh,
that,
and yeah.
they're a
Yeah.
sleeper. They're a sleeper. They could just, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll
So
see. We'll see.
tomorrow we have the pair short program, the free dance and the men's free skate, and starting bright and early. I think 4 o'clock in the morning in the East Coast here. I'll be up. I don't know if you can tell. One of us slept through everything and watched it later. The other one stayed up all night. Figure out which one. And but
I woke up in the middle of the men's SP and I started. I did start with the
I
men,
watched
and then, but no, I wasn't
I
up.
watched it all and took a little nap afterwards, and that's it. We'll be back
Yeah.
tomorrow to recap all of the events for day two.
Hmm.
Hope you enjoyed watching. Please subscribe. Please share it with your friends. We love talking about figure skating. We're just nerds. And hope you enjoy the event as much as we did. And thank you for watching Skating Lesson.
All right. Yeah. And see everyone tomorrow.